Nigeria and Afghanistan, what the Jewish country this particular is actually not corrupt.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
I'm not going to demand any apology from anybody. What I'm demanding is the return of assets.
Tout le monde nous disait que c'était impossible.
Everyone said it was impossible.
Mais s'ils ne connaissaient pas la France,
They didn't know France.
Hello and welcome to Global Arena, where we bring you in-depth analysis of global issues and how they affect Africa, highlighting the continent's interest in international affairs. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for joining us. On the show this week, we're turning our attention to U.S. President alleged comments about African countries during an immigration policy meeting that held on January 11. Now, the shithole controversy has now sparked renewed reactions about some issues in Africa, from the increasing number of illegal immigrants to poor leadership and the high rates of poverty in developing African countries. Although Donald Trump has denied he said Haiti, El Salvador and all of Africa are shithole countries, the alleged comments seem to have reverberated around the world, attracting sharp criticisms from many stakeholders.
All Haitian people are human beings. We're the human being.
It hurt me because most of Florida, 30% of the language is Haitians. And if Trump doesn't want us, then there's no America.
As an African, I'm disgusted. I don't even know what to say.
Oh, wow. Well, I think he's the shithole in this scenario.
Because we're not shithole. We people. We just like him.
It's something he should retrieve, because Africans are not whatever he called them. Africans are more than that.
And we are in a new era where people should live and try to accept others the way they are.
Haitian ambassador to the United States, Paul Artido, who condemned the alleged statement, expressed amazement and disappointment that such could come from such an exalted office. He has joined voices with the United Nations, African Union, and African National Congress, amongst others, who say the statement is not only racist, but hurts the world's shared global values on diversity, human rights, and reciprocal understanding.
Conversation as to who said what. Something was said in the name of Haiti that we find regretful, we find unfortunate, because this fits into a greater narrative as a government we're trying to address. Too much stigmas, too much stereotype about the country of Haiti. So we hope this is a beginning of a new conversation about the country of Haiti and its people.
These are shocking and shameful comments from the President of the United States. I'm sorry, but there's no other word one can use but racist. You cannot dismiss entire countries and continents as shitholes, whose entire populations, who are not white, are therefore not welcome.
It's not as if the United States doesn't have difficulties. There are millions of unemployed people in the US, millions of people who don't have healthcare services or access to education, and we would not deign to make comments as derogatory as that about any country that has any kind of socio-economic or other difficulties.
This isn't just a story about vulgar language. It's about opening the door to humanity's worst side. It's about validating and encouraging racism and xenophobia that will potentially disrupt and even destroy the lives of many people. And that's perhaps the single most damaging and dangerous consequence of this type of comment by a major political figure.
U.S. President Donald Trump is, however, on the defensive about the report of foul language and racist comment. Even Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois continues to stand by his account of what was said at that meeting.
Comments the other day against Carter. Did you see what various senators in the room said about my comments? They were amazed. Oh, these little like people think you're racist. No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person you have ever interviewed. That I can tell you.
I know what happened. I stand behind every word that I said. What the president said in that meeting was so awful and so impactful on so many people that when he denied saying it, I felt duty-bound to clarify what actually happened.
Following reports that President Donald Trump had referred to several countries, including Haiti, as shitholes, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has now barred people from the Caribbean country from applying for low-skilled working visas. DHS said in a regulatory filing that it was removing Haiti from a list of more than 80 countries whose citizens can be granted H-2A and H-2B visas given to seasonal workers in agriculture and other industries. It justified the decision by citing the high levels of fraud and abuse from Haitians on the program and a high rate of overstaying the terms of their visas. Meanwhile, in Haiti, about 2,000 people on Monday took to the streets of Port-au-Prince, the nation's capital, to protest comments attributed to U.S. President Donald Trump about the nation being a shithole country, which caused uproar in the world's first independent black republic. Protesters brandished posters of Donald Trump sporting an anus where his mouth was supposed to be, and other caricatures of the president making reference to the body part. My guest on the show today is a European and international law expert. He currently works as a legal compliance analyst, monitoring both local and international money laundering activities, child traffic, and terrorism financing. You'll find out why in the course of the show. He's associate head of training legal team of the Square Incorporation, an IT and financial firm in the United States of America. He's also an expert in money laundering, financial terrorism. He was keynote speaker at the European Union Peace Project on refugees in Latvia to manage the immigration crisis across Europe. Adewale Dreams Ayotoye is a Nigerian who currently lives as an immigrant in the United States of America. Thank you very much for finding time to come.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
So I hope that you're not part of those African immigrants who will be affected by Trump's decision on DACA.
Absolutely no.
Okay.
And the truth is this, Nifemi, like I've had a couple of friends sometimes, especially people back home, and some of the people I studied with while I was in Europe, Estonia to be precise.
Okay.
And they always ask me, how are we dealing with the Trump situation? And I always make them understand one thing, that if you do the right thing, the right channels, you have no problem. You have nothing to be afraid of.
The big question is, why the rising immigration of Africans to America? I understand that the lawn is greener from the other side, but then you also recall the story of Libya, the fact that people can now even go all the way through the desert, swim through the sea, in the name of traveling to Europe. What do you think is responsible for that?
Well, first thing first, poverty. Because if you understand that you're a graduate of a particular field, of a particular subject, and there's an opportunity for you to practice what you've graduated with in the university, there's an opportunity for you to advance your career. I see no reason why you want to go to the other side where the grass is greener. So most of the time when you see people that leave their current country just to go through Libya, put their life in danger, and which right now, a situation like that is becoming a problem. It's becoming a big crisis in the hand of the European Union, and they're trying to find a way to deal with it.
It's hard to hear that from you. You're married, you live in America. I mean, you can't come here to Nigeria and tell people, why are you going to America? Amazingly, you've been to 23 countries of the world. How did you make that happen?
For me personally, it was one of the opportunity of studying in Europe. During my time when I was studying international law, I actually enrolled for a European Union project. And that very particular project took me around Europe. And it was about integrating refugees from different war-affected zones into the European Union, making sure that in terms of their religion, like their religion and belief is not affected by their new culture, and their host is actually receptive to them. So that was like my main job back then.
Did poverty take you to America?
Not at all. Poverty didn't take me to America.
But life is easier there.
Absolutely. I was discussing with a friend of mine a few days ago. We're talking about the IT sector. And I said the truth is that there is a lot of money you can make in the IT sector. I said there's a lot of money you can make in Nigeria as well. But if you're over there, you have a lot of speed.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay, so the issue now is either Trump actually call Haiti, El Salvador, and all African countries shithole, whether it was shithole or shithouse. How do you think Africa should react?
Oh, wow. For me, when I heard the news of what Trump actually said, it's a big slap.
Okay.
But the truth is that it is not a slap of disappointment, it's a slap of awakening. Like, it's time for African leaders to arise to the current situation and prove to the Western world that there's a lot of things that we can achieve as Africans. Because even individually as an African, you're gonna see, like when you're at the airport, like internationally, you meet other Africans, your first instinct is not to jump towards them in happiness and excitement. Your first instinct is to be like, okay, am I sure this person isn't doing anything shady?
Even from a black man.
Oh, I'm serious. Like my current position, I happen to be associated of training. The person who is the head of training is a Nigerian guy. So when he heard that they're promoting another Nigerian to the associated of training, he was concerned that, okay, another Nigerian is coming into place right now. I hope he's not going to mess things up. But as well, when I heard that the head of training is a Nigerian, I have the same feeling. But after some time, when we got to know each other and each other's personality, we're like, okay, and we apologize. Like, I'm so sorry. I thought about you, like in the particular picture. Like my wife, most of the places that we've been to, the moment she sees someone who is an American, she's like, oh, babe, this is an American. And they get to talk. They're excited to see each other. Is she American as well? She's an American. They're excited to see each other. They're excited to talk about current different states in America, where they're from, the locations, what's happening over there. But we as an African, when we meet someone that's from an Africa, it's like, no way.
But is Trump's position threatening African immigrants? I mean, from someone who is married to an American, the feeling back at home is that we have a U.S. president who doesn't like blacks and who is there having Americans first in his mind and in his plans.
Well, in all honesty, I think Trump is trying to take America back to the eras of Martin Luther King, where if you're a black man, your voice is limited. If you're a black person, if you're a person of color, what you can say and what you can do can be restricted.
Does that threaten you in any way?
Personally, no, I'm not. And my reason is, Trump can only go within the context of the law.
You don't have a plan B of relocating to Nigeria?
Well, I've told my friend, I said, if better opportunity arises and I have a greater callings than what I have right now and I see a reason as to move back home, why not?
And your American wife is willing?
Oh, my wife, she is a woman of purpose. She's like, wherever we are and we can make impact and deliver purpose, she doesn't really care.
Let's look at the reactions trailing Trump's pronouncement or alleged pronouncement. On Twitter, on Facebook, young Africans are speaking loud. We've also seen the Ghanaian president tweeting and quite a number of people. But the bottom line here is that there are some African countries that are also quite a bit laid back. Some will say that, for instance, the Deputy Secretary, J.C. Durrett, said developing countries do have difficulties, but the United States itself has millions of people out of work or out of health care. There are, for instance, the Sudanese government is saying, we're not going to say anything unless Trump specifically mentions Sudan. Some are saying perhaps it's because we still get a lot of foreign aid from America and Trump is threatening to cut down on this aid. What's the implication of America cutting down or slashing foreign assistance for the African continent?
The truth is this, Nifemi, like, let's take a look at it. Africa as a whole, as a continent, is not a poor ground. There are a lot of resources available at our disposal. So if we fought for independence, like various African countries fought for independence, but yet we're still waiting for handout from our so-called masters, the question is, are we really independent? If African leaders really want to have a voice and they really want to be taken seriously, I think it's time for African leaders to actually take control of their resources, take control of their nation, take control of their affairs. Because hardly can you see any African nation that want to make any diplomatic decision without taking instruction from America.
Does that make Africa a shithole?
Well, it depends on the context. I'm not going to say, because I'm an African and I'm proud of my heritage, I'm not going to say Africa is a shithole. Because when you say something is a shithole, it means something that has no potential, something that has no value, something that has no opportunity for development.
But there's
and
even
growth.
manure in the shithole. You can put it on the farm or something.
Well, that is true, but this is the, come take a look at this. Like, when I got to the United States, I was exposed to some culture shock.
Okay.
And one of it is that on TV, which is very prominent on TV. You're going to see so many commercials on TV saying there's a child in Africa that needs your help. Africans are poor, Africans are starving, they're dying, they need $1. $1 from your purse can save a life. It's so repeated on the TV that my wife was telling me that if not for the fact that she's educated and she's exposed, remember the word exposed, that she will have thought that Africans need $1 to survive. So Trump is just like, forget the fact that Trump is a billionaire who ended up becoming the president of the United States. Trump is just an average American who think that Africa still live in analog ways.
Who's been brainwashed about the narrative about Africa. But let's talk about Trump's decision on the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Program, DACA. How would that affect illegal immigration? We have a situation in America where there are about 800,000 of them who got to America illegally, but then America is a dream place for everyone, and the government sees it fit to accommodate those who were young when they came in. If this program really comes to an end, what impact do you see it having on illegal immigration, especially from Africa?
Well, two things. Number one, it's going to affect America economically. Because to be honest with you, America is a nation built on the back of immigrants. And when you talk about, especially when you talk about agriculture, and you talk about most of those menial jobs, it is, in fact, 80% of people that carry out those operations are immigrants. Even be it those that have been in the country from young age or those that came in middle age. But I can tell you that, I can't say it's not going to be possible, but I can tell you that the House, the Senate, they're not going to let it happen.
Okay.
Because, and see, that's one of the good things that I love about a democratic settings. You can't just wake up one day and say, okay, you know what? I don't like blacks, I don't like Mexicans, I don't like Latinos, I want all of them out of the countries. It's not gonna happen. And that is why you see, like, when it came around about the traveling ban, it kept being rejected until eventually it was like, you know what, I have to play smart with these people. So the only problem is this: if you live in America and you live illegally, then that's a problem for you. Because Trump is going to do whatever he can within his power to fish people like that out. It's just a witch hunting. But at the same time, if you really want to enjoy your life there, you don't have to look out on your shoulder all the time. Go through the proper channel, get things done through the right ways. And that is when you can achieve the American dream.
There's a big concern about the America-Africa relations under the Trump administration. But Trump's alleged comments simply highlight concerns about his lack of focus on Africa, including empty ambassadorial posts in key countries like South Africa, Egypt, Congo, Somalia. As a matter of fact, they say there are about 8 African countries that do not enjoy the kind of ambassadorial presence under the Trump administration. What impact do you see this having on the African continent?
Well, the truth is this. The United States, they're not seeing us as equal. And not because you're black, but because of the fact that what is African countries, what are the African countries contributing to the American economy, like in terms of diplomatic relationship? Yes, of course, we can talk about the raw materials and raw resources that are available in Africa, but at the same time, America is not sleeping. Every day, when it comes to technology, comes to agricultural development, everything we have, they try to build into it. So that way, they cannot be stranded because we want to cut ties and relationship with them. But now, for African countries, because personally, when I came back home, oh man, that's a different story. I think the fact that I've been away for a while, I've forgotten how things are. When I came back, the question I asked myself is, what are our leaders doing to make things better for our people?
All right, so this is not the first time that Trump is expressing negative opinions about Africa. In 2013, he had tweeted that every penny of the $7 billion going to Africa as per Obama will be stolen. According to him, corruption is rampant. Now, it's not only Trump's opinion. The UN Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, in 2017 had estimated $50 billion leaving the shore of the continent illicitly, mostly to the Western countries every year. Now, that's about $1 trillion in 50 years. What do you think is the loophole for such level of financial mismanagement in Africa?
One of the biggest loopholes. The same people that created the law, they're the same people breaking the law. If you come to look at it, the people who laundered the money to the Western world, to Cayman Islands and many of these countries, Switzerland, these are the same people that created the law. So in a way, when they're caught, the loophole in the law allows them to walk free. Because I happen to monitor both international and local money laundering. When I say local, I mean within the United States, and internationally, I mean worldwide. And every time, like when we trace some of these money launderers, it doesn't go back to someone in the government, it goes back to corporations. So it is easy for the government to go after these big corporations and make sure that they face the full length of justice. But the reverse is the case over here. Corporations are not the ones stealing. The government are the ones stealing. So the question is, who is going to prosecute the government?
What measures, what processes, what systems do you think can be employed to tackle this issue?
If they're really serious about it, there are 1,001 ways that they can go about it. Firstly, is to make sure, which that's not a big problem right here. Most corporations, most people don't pay taxes. But, you know, recently we had the opportunity of sleeping in an hotel, which I'm not going to mention the name. And the moment I got there, I wasn't expecting to find an international standard hotel.
In what part of the country?
So in the western part of Nigeria. I wasn't expecting to find such an hotel. And I was shocked when I went into my room. I was like, wow. But
for someone who's been to 23
oh
countries,
yeah, I was shocked, to be honest, because that's the kind of facilities I expect to see in Germany, Norway, America, Canada, Australia, Japan. I expect to see in those places. But finding such facilities in the southern west of Nigeria, I'm like, what? That's interesting. But within 24 hours of staying in the hotel, I can tell that the service they provide doesn't measure up to the facilities they have. And I told my friend, I said, this is money laundering. It was like, how do I know? So I explained to him, I said, firstly, if at the end of the year they have like, they were able to make, let's say, ₦1 million from customers, they're just going to file a report that they made ₦50 million. That's ₦49 million into the book. So all they just got to do is for the ₦49 million goes into the bank, it comes back, and the money is laundered.
Adwale Dreams, I say. Thank you very much for joining us.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Nifemi.
That's a show this week. You can reach us via any of the social media platforms showing on your screen. Until we meet again next week, keep supporting a united and prosperous Africa. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for joining us.